Well, hello. There is a little bit of an update on the Mandalorian and Grogu film. I don't know about you, but that title still doesn't sit well with me. It's too elongated. It could have been worse. It could have been The Mandalorian and Din Grogu. But I still think it's a working title. I think we're going to get something a bit snappier. Maybe This Is the Way, a Star Wars story. That'd be a good way of getting that Star Wars story title back in there. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about the title? Do you think it should be shortened? What would you call it instead? But there is a little bit of an update. We've got a filming date. So it looks like the film is set to begin shooting on June the 17th. It's going to be in Los Angeles. Whereas in the past, Star Wars has used a number of locations to film movies, mostly in London. It looks as though this is going to be a US-based production. And as I say, it looks like in about 4 months' time, they will begin shooting the film. So it is going to shoot before the supposed Rey movie, which isn't a surprise. It still seems like the Rey movie is very much in the pre-production stage, with the script still being written. But I would assume that The Mandalorian is the film. It's been written. There might be some revisions, but the story as a whole, it looks like it's probably going to have been locked in. One thing that I am wondering, because again, an unfortunate bit of news that came out this past weekend was the passing of Carl Weathers, who played High Magistrate Greef Karga. And, he's a fantastic actor, had so many big roles, whether it was in, the Rocky series, Predator, he was even in Happy Gilmore, funnily enough. And, he's such a great actor. He will be missed massively. And it's the question of what will happen to his character. The first 3 seasons, I think that you could look at that and say that was a very well-rounded story for him. And you could leave it just at that. Have the character be, off just being the High Magistrate, mentioned once in a while but never seen, and just left to live out, his story in peace. The other option is you could use the death of the actor to kill off the character and use that as a catalyst for the story. It could be that the pirates come back for revenge. It could be that a new mystery character comes in and starts to, kill those closest to the Mando. And so it could be used as a catalyst to push the Mandalorian in another direction. And I think, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I think if it was done tastefully, that would be a very acceptable option. I know some people probably have reservations about killing off characters just because the actor has died. But I seriously doubt that there's going to be much use of the character other than, background mentions, maybe some stuff in novels. Certainly I don't think they would ever go down the route of CGI for, I hate calling him a minor character, but realistically in the bigger picture, Greef Karga is a minor character. I don't think they would go through the rigmarole of trying to resurrect him, after the actor has died. But either way, I would be happy with them using character death to push the story forward. It doesn't feel as tragic to me as someone like Baylan Skoll with Ray Stevenson, who, obviously, firstly died much younger. I mean, any death is a tragedy. I don't want to, try and water down, the sort of sadness around Carl Weathers passing. But I think Ray Stevenson and Baylan Skoll, it felt like you were just getting to the prime of his story, and there was a lot more to tell. Whereas with Greef Karga, like I say, he had a really good story in those 3 seasons. He went from being the guy who handed out the bounties, still, cared about the community, but he was definitely in the heart of that underworld, and feeding it. And he was very much accepting of the Empire being on Navarro. Whereas season 2 and 3, you see him become a leader. You see him become someone who transforms Navarro into a prosperous trade port. And, his story ends with him having vanquished the pirates, doing his High Magistrate thing with IG-11 as his marshal. So I think, either way, it's a good choice, just to leave him be or to use him to push the Mandalorian further forward. I'd like to know what you think, though. And so that's where I'm going to leave this video. Just a short update on the production. Obviously, we've got a start date for the filming. No updates on story or anything like that. But again, just sort of theorizing on what could be next for Greef Karga, which again, it's going to be very, very limited, but they may well be able to use the tragic circumstances to their advantage, which sounds terrible, but you know, that's what Hollywood does, isn't it? Let's face it, that's the reality of the world. So yes, please let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you for the next video.